So if we all could get a little bit time back in our day, I think we all would be a little bit more happier. If there's a way to enhance and boost our productivity, enhance our efficiency in the task that we have daily, I'm sure that we all would appreciate that. What's happening now with the AI revolution is that you have all of these competing models, these chatbots and tools available to us at our disposal to explore, to navigate, and to use for enhanced productivity and efficiency. And what it reminds me of is kind of the gaming revolution, where we saw the emergence of new gaming consoles, right? First in the 70s or so, in the 80s, you had the Atari amongst other gaming consoles. And then the late 80s, you started having other gaming consoles emerge, such as the Super Nintendo, or the Nintendo, and then it evolved to the Super Nintendo. You had Game Boy, you had Sony with the Sony PlayStation that would come out. You had the Genesis. You had all of these different gaming consoles, and at that time it was like, who was going to be number one? But it seemed like by the mid 90s that Sony was starting to create some separation, right? And then as you get into the late 90s, you'd have like other iterations of PlayStation, PS2. You would have other iterations of Nintendo, from, I believe they had their Cube to the, what else did they have? There was, from Sega, there was Sega CD, a bunch of competing just consoles, some that became obsolete. And then now you go into the 2000s, you had like Xbox emerging as one of the newer, stronger competitors out there against PlayStation as well as Nintendo. Nintendo then had an emergence or re-emergence with their Wii console, amongst other things. But what you see is this ongoing battle back and forth, right? And these are the big names, right? In terms of Nintendo and PlayStation, Xbox with Microsoft, like some of the big names that really put themselves out there on the map. Whereas a lot of other gaming consoles fell to the wayside that we don't hear about anymore. And kind of the point is that it correlates to these AI competing models. What you're seeing is an emergence of all kinds of tools and names out there, right? But of the top names, Google Gemini, right? And then you have OpenAI's ChatGPT. You have Anthropic's Claude tool. You've got Perplexity. A bunch of tools out there. And what I'm seeing is a similar type of competition playing out, similar to the gaming industry. What you're going to see is a lot of tools where they're very limited just to their product offering. They may not be around in the next 5 to 10 years, right? Especially as these bigger companies continue to evolve and mature their product and service offerings and their suite of capabilities within these AI cloud-based products and services. And so when this all shakes out, yes, this is going to be a wide ecosystem that we can't truly predict how big this will actually be. But you will see a few of the main players, just like you see with Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, right? You're going to have your top dogs, and then you're going to have a bunch of other players in the ecosystem that will be able to commercialize their products and services at particular layers of this whole AI model, right? Most will be at the application layer, where they offer some product or service that sits on top of these bigger behemoth competing AI models. So with that said, they have said that it's not AI that'll essentially replace your job. It's the people who learn to harness the tools of AI, right? Those who learn how to quickly assimilate themselves within those ecosystems and know how to use the tools and apply them in their day-to-day activities, those are the ones who are going to be able to become more efficient at their task and more productive. And this is not going anywhere, right? It's something that shouldn't be ignored because it could have adverse impacts to you personally. And it's something to not be ignored. So with that, you have to ask yourself, all right, well, how do I get ready for this, right? I think for starters, it's good to just start to play around with some of the web platforms out there or the apps, right? Whether you choose to use Gemini app, whether you choose to use ChatGPT, or Perplexity, or Claude, or Grok. I would say just start playing around with them, just like early gaming consoles. I remember trying out the Sega Genesis, and then the Super Nintendo, and then the PlayStation, and what you noticed was each one of them had a deep tribe. Some swore up and down and lived by only one gaming console, whereas others were open to playing with all of them. And what you see is essentially a convergence of developing your skill set on one platform just because it's more user-friendly to you, right? I remember playing Madden, the football game, on Xbox as well as PlayStation, and at the time it felt like I was way more better playing on the PS2 or PS3 version of Madden versus Xbox, just because of the gaming control configurations and tactile functions of how your fingers moved around, right? So there was some slight, subtle differentiations, in how you played, right? And so if you could beat somebody in PS2 or 3, maybe it was a little bit more challenging on Xbox because they were just used to the Xbox gaming console. So I think the same will happen with these AI tools. I think you play around with them, you'll notice that one of the platforms might be a little bit more user-friendly to you. It could also be that what you input into the prompts versus what becomes the output. One model or one platform may be more suitable for your search needs versus another, right? And so you just have to figure out which one of these serves you best based off of your personal use cases, whether it's related to things you're searching for your day job, whether it comes to your shopping experience, whether it's travel experiences, whether it's just research on topics that you like, right? Like that's kind of the entry level into really tapping into these AI models. Kind of that next level is this agentic era, right? These agents, knowing how to coordinate and delegate tasks to agents, and designing that within a useful workflow where you're having the agents dispersed across different applications, right? And talking to each other, based on various commands, right? And so that, for instance, that would be like, hey, I run some business, and a part of the workflow, in the week, I need like weekly posts to our blog, all right? So one of your workflows that you may create an agent to be assigned to would be maybe that agent generates some type of automated, say blog on, let's just say you're selling real estate, right? So maybe this workflow, it's connected to, say, MailChimp. And so MailChimp will help send out these automated emails, but also that MailChimp workflow is tied to some type of research that gets generated that talks about, say, your business is in the real estate market. It generates some of the recent real estate data, and and writes a blog based off of recent reports, and packages that all up together. And that workflow that you have tied between, say, MailChimp to send out the emails, and then one of the AI tools to generate a report based on its findings to articulate and consolidate into a blog onto your website, that might be one workflow, right? And so that's the power of agents. Agents allow you to automate those workflows to where you set the prompts and you kind of, make tweaks and iterations along the way, but it's very low maintenance, and you don't have to depend on another human being essentially to do that once it's set, right? It's kind of like you set it and forget it. And so this is the next level beyond just basic kind of prompting, right? Which is, hey, how do I set up agents where I can delegate tasks that allow me to be more efficient in this digital world? And so going back to just the original theme of this chat is, how do we get back more time? How do we enhance our productivity and our efficiency in the tasks we do? I would say that you have to have an open mind to embracing this new AI era and revolution that's underway. There's no ignoring it. Right? It would be equivalent to someone owning a horse over 100 years ago and ignoring the fact that a car could get you from A to B more reliably, more efficiently, more safely, right? And so now you can see all the streets are flooded with cars, right? In major cities, we deal with something called traffic. I bet when we first came up with the car, that didn't even cross our mind that would be an issue to have to manage and deal with. But guess what? Here it is. And AI will deal with the same challenges. There's unforeseen issues and problems that have not yet manifested. And then there's also insanely incredible achievements that it will accomplish that we have yet to see. Right? We're only beginning to scratch the surface. So it would be in the best interest of the masses, of most of us, to start to adopt these tools. You want to be an early adopter. You don't want to be a laggard. You don't want to be the last one picking up and trying to learn these tools when we've already evolved to other iterations. And right, you don't want to be the person trying to learn how to play Atari when we're already on PlayStation 5. It's just, in terms of the capability and outputs, we're just far beyond, these 2D, 3D models and in these way more complex 4D and beyond models, right? And so it's something to where you want to figure out how you can inject it into your life and make it have meaning, right? There's definitely super advanced capabilities that the majority of people won't use, just like an iPhone user or a MacBook owner. For the average person who purchases it, they're purchasing it because of its popularity, its aesthetics, its user-friendly capability, just the idea that this machine is just powerful. It does what we need it to do. However, the average person is using a fraction of its capability. Why? Because most of us don't need the computing power that it provides, right? Most of us just need your basic web browsing and searching, email capabilities, and some social media capabilities. That's about it. We're not developing things, like new apps. We're not, but that might actually change when you think about Gemini. Gemini's canvas, maybe the average, which makes it easy for the average person to start to develop apps. But with that being said, I think that the computer, the MacBook, most of us don't use its fullest capabilities. Right? And the same is happening with AI, right? It will have this immense power, but the average person isn't going to be using it to its fullest capability. You just need to be able to figure out how to use it for your personal use case. And just start. Like, the only way you're going to really figure out these tools, especially as they evolve, is to start using them. Right now, it's just, we're in that first generation. And we have this tactile experience of using these chatbots mostly on our mobile phones, right? We press things into search. We enter these prompts, our inputs, and we generate outputs. Or we use some type of other device like a desktop computer, a laptop, or some type of iPad or tablet related device, right? This is just the initial use cases of this first generation of AI introduction. We have no idea how this is going to evolve when it comes to other tactile or intangible experiences. Right? What does it look like when you're talking to your vehicle, right? When it's, in this type of design environment? What is it like when it's integrated into other Internet of Things capabilities, right? When it's in our kitchen, in our fridge, our stove, our air condition, right? Imagine that you're just talking to your air conditioner. Hey, what would be the optimum or optimal air conditioned so that I can save on this particular cost right now. Whatever that is, you know, please adjust the thermometer or the, you know, the room temperature to that. Right? I mean, we have no idea how these things are going to evolve in terms of future use cases and how it's going to apply across various industries. I mean, think about the medical community. When you're having it execute these commands within just this hospital environment, right? Already with Gemini Live, you can view an issue, right? Like a mechanic can take his phone out and direct it over maybe some car engine related issues and get potential solutions that he or she might be stuck on. And to be able to do that in real time and not have to wait on feedback from some delayed email or from a manager or a coworker to figure out how to solve a problem, when you can get it and use AI as a companion that helps provide on-demand results, that's going to transform our entire existence and reshape the world. So don't delay. Start today. Start prompting away and use Gemini or the other ones. Take care.